Welcome everyone to Skylab, and welcome online to those of you who are joining us online. It's a pleasure to be able to welcome you back to the Applied AI Lunch Talks. This is the beginning of the fall semester for us, and I'm looking forward to welcoming 2 DTU people on stage, or prior DTU in some cases, that have started startups about AI. So for the rest of the semester, I'm going to foreshadow a little bit here. Today, we have a PowerPoint mishap. Let's see. Kan jeg få lidt hjælp heroppe? Ud af den her. Hvad sker der så? Sorry about that. Technical hiccups at a technical university. We're not immune to that either. Here you can see the dates for the Applied AI Lunch Talks during this semester. And before we jump into giving Marius and Cortsen the stage, let me share with you what you have to look forward to during this fall. So the dates are as follows, of course, today. In 2 short weeks, we're going to convene again for Applied AI Lunch Talks, physically and online. And that time, we're actually going to be at the Digital Tech Summit. It's in Øskenhallen. And the QR code up there in the middle, you can sign up for DTS for free. It takes a little bit of your time to sign up, I'll admit that, but it's going to be well worth it. And you can learn a lot about startups, about technology, about industry, and you can meet 2 exciting Applied AI Lunch Talk speakers. We're also going to meet just before Christmas on December 18th, where we're going to hear from Danish Crown about how they use AI, and also from a startup that actually uses AI for prenatal care. So AI can be relevant even before you're born. These are the talks at the Digital Tech Summit, and you can sign up for all of the talks on the website. But back to the present moment, I'm excited to welcome Marius Cortsen from ChatTutor on stage, and he's going to take you on the journey that they've taken from research idea to now an edtech startup. Welcome so much.
Thank you, Camilla. Thank you, D2 Skylab, for inviting me on stage to talk a little bit about ChatTutor. Today I'm gonna talk to you a bit about the technology, the platform, and about the pedagogical thoughts that we've had building an AI tutor. And then I'll also talk you through the journey from working here at DTU to working outside of DTU in a spin-out. I apologize for the icons, they looked much better this morning. But we're a spin-out company, and we're using AI to deliver tutoring to teachers and to students, primarily at universities and high schools. We just celebrated our 1-year anniversary with the company just recently. Our mission is to help institutions integrate generative AI into their learning and teaching safely, ethically, and effectively. We work with a human in the loop, meaning that it's the teacher who sets up the course, adding the course curriculum, and the teacher is able to intervene between the AI and the student. It's a concept I'm going to come back to. We're very privacy focused, meaning we emphasize that as little data leaves our platform as possible. And I'll show you a schematic. I'm not going to go too technical, but I will show a schematic of our platform, just to, I thought you couldn't have an AI talk without giving a bit of technical details. In that order, we are using a type of technology called retrieval augmentation generation. Anyone who heard about that? Could I see a show of hands? Yeah, someone heard about that, great. And then we have built our platform so that we are agnostic towards which large language model you use to deliver the output. So what distinguishes ChatTutor for many similar products is that ChatTutor is based on your curriculum. So your teacher will upload your teaching materials, and ChatTutor will refer to those when providing you with output. And that is one step towards mitigating hallucinations and pluralism, meaning, let's say you ask about spin in a quantum mechanics course, it might reply that spin is the angular momentum of a particle. But if you ask the same question in a course on marketing, it might refer to public relations, angling something towards a specific goal. So that's what we try to do with our solution. A screenshot of the interface, which has already changed since I took this, but just to show you, on the left-hand side, you see your course materials, and you see the little squares where you can interact with the text, so you can get ChatTutor to explain different equations, breaking them down into simpler components, and you can start chatting with what does that component mean, why is this equation relevant, so on and so forth. You can have interactions around your curriculum. You also see other icons in the chat interface where you can ask a teaching assistant, you can share the thread with your study colleagues, and you can see your history. And we have a lot more features. But this was just to show you how it's based on your curriculum. A RAG system, which is one type of AI, you could say, which is one that we're utilizing. There are many others. From the left, you see an input. A user asks a question, for example, and what ChatTutor will do is to perform what is called smart search. I'm not going to go into exactly what that is, but basically it starts by looking in a specific knowledge base. And that knowledge base is comprised of books, articles, slides, notes that your teacher has uploaded for your specific course or module. And in that process, ChatTutor will create a vector database where it will split the resources, the books, articles apart, and try to come up with the distance between words in a three-dimensional space. So you can sort of get an understanding, in air quotes, of what the materials are about by mapping out the relationships between words. When the system has looked in your materials, it will then send that relevant context together with your input to the large language model. So that is, up until that step, everything happens on the ChatTutor side, you could say, within a closed space. That information is sent to a large language model provider, like ChatGPT or Mistral or Gemini, and that then is augmented by the LLM and then generates an output, but that is sent to the user. So the promise of these AI tutors is, of course, massive. You can now get a personal tutor that is available 24/7 at a fraction of the cost of a human being. So it's a great promise. And it used to be, that slide is not working, so I'm just going to go back. So it used to be that the promise was that now everyone, from the most rural area to the least well-resourced families, could have this access. But we've actually seen that now the debate is taking a bit of a turn, because yes, everyone has access to these tools, but we now see a distinction between those who know how to use the tools for their betterment and those who don't. So there's still some inequality debate in this question. I know Sina Sambach from Copenhagen Business School is really looking into this, has some great perspectives. So this LLM agnosticism is a way of future-proofing our platform, we believe. The institution, such as TCU, could have a reason to adopting one large language model over another. Data privacy issues could also be that one is better at one course material than another. So we've built it so that you can pull in different large language models into the equation or into the process. Yeah. And we, of course, emphasize privacy and understanding what the EU AI Act means to a company like ChatTutor, which is why we, for example, have the human in the loop. It's one way of assuring that output always has an opportunity to be validated by someone who has more insight than the student themselves. Yeah. Which I'll just show you by showing that on our platform, both students, teachers, instructors, teaching assistants come together on the platform with the LLMs and the agents. It's not to put ChatTutor at the center of attention. Quite the contrary, we do emphasize putting students at the center. And this enables a lot of different interactions from a student sitting in their own home, alone with an AI. So to summarize sort of the problem statement, we say that, or we see that most students have adopted these. Teachers and institutions not so much, but they're getting there. And we think that's great because it's a very, very powerful tool, and the title of the talk also contains the word harnessing, and that is how I sort of picture what we're doing. We're trying to harness this great force of AI into better teaching and learning. But there's a but to this. These GPTs, they can be wrong. They can be misused for learning, as already addressed, and they don't have human oversight. So the teachers are kind of left in the dark. And this is the problem that we are trying to address with ChatTutor. So, as mentioned, the debate has often been yes to AI or no to AI. We still hear indirectly from teachers who say that couldn't we just ban it all, then it would be much simpler. And we realize it's a massive change that we're facing as a society and an educational industry, you could say. But I want to make an effort to try to nuance that debate a little bit by using an example that came out of MIT this year in June. And how many have heard of this study, Your Brain on ChatGPT? Yeah, someone has heard of it, great. So basically what they tried to do was to see how does your brain change when you use these tools. So they asked a group of university students to write essays. And some were given an LLM to help them, and some were given, I think, an internet browser, and the other group, the control group, was given nothing, so they called that the brain group. And in the LLM group, they could see reduced neural activity. They could also see lower memory call and weaker ownership of their work, so they couldn't remember what they'd written. And their essays scored well, but they lacked originality and depth. And when they took the LLM users and switched them back to having to write only with their brain, they actually underperformed compared to the others. On the other side, those who went from using their brain to then later getting help from a large language model, they actually showed stronger learning and mental integration. So one conclusion of the study is that it's not yes or no AI, but it's how we use the AI that matters for your learning. And I would argue that these models are here to stay, so we should probably think about how do we adapt them into our teaching. And luckily, in the same month, this study came out. It's a collaboration between Professor Guido Macranzi at the Institute of Psychology at the University of Copenhagen, where he and his team at the Virtual Learning Lab, where he used ChatTutor to set up an experiment. And the idea was that the students would get a lecture, and then they would get time to interact with the materials in 3 different groups, one being the ChatTutor group, one being a raw ChatGPT group, and the last one being just the teacher and the materials. And after that, they received a test, and we actually managed to see that the ChatTutor group would outperform the ChatGPT group on conceptual knowledge, on trust, enjoyment, and behavioral intentions, meaning the intention to use the tool or technology again. So our conclusion from that is when you take pedagogical theory, in this case generative sense making, and use that to inform the way the teacher prepares the AI to interact with the students, you can actually get really good results. So obviously we are also a commercial company, so we are now thinking about how do we build that into an agent. And the way I look at agents is that they are, there are probably many different definitions of them, but the way I think of them is that they are a type of behavior. You give a personality to the AI. And you can ask the AI to behave in specific ways, in specific contexts. And you can activate these agents in specific sequences and allow the students to interact with them. For example, right now we're building a reflection question agent, which helps the teacher set up questions about the curriculum and then activate it for the students. And the students will go and perform that little task. And what I foresee is that these agents are going to be a centerpiece of AI in teaching. So yeah, we're looking into building a sandbox where teachers can set up multiple agents based on various pedagogical theory and share those with other researchers or teachers across their own institutions or across beyond their own institutions. So really how I think of this is that it's just the next evolution of blended learning. We will have, I'm just going to skip from that slide, it's acting up a little bit. Yeah, it's the way I think of it, it's a new tool in the toolbox really for teachers to that they can use in their teaching. That's how I think of AI. Just briefly about me, I'm not a technologist. I worked with innovation and business development, and I'm together with a great team. So on the left-hand side, you have Lars Kai Hansen and Tu Haller, who are here at DTU and are the heavyweights on the technology. On the right-hand side of me, you have Kurt and Mikkel, who have a long educational technology history. And I also promised to talk a little bit about how it all began. So from my perspective, as most good things, this whole endeavor, from my perspective, started at a julefrokost, a DTU julefrokost, where I was talking to Rasmus, who's an innovation partner here at DTU, and he said, well, he often comes across researchers who have great ideas for commercialization, and whether I'd like to talk to one. Has anyone seen Silicon Valley? Yeah, a few. Cool. It's a great TV show. I can highly recommend it. So this is Tu, and that's me. And we got in a room, and we didn't understand a word of what each other was saying, which is either a good sign or a really bad sign. Luckily, we got another chance because Rasmus reached out to Christian, also an employee at Skylab, and he told us to try again. So we set some expectations and agreed to go for the DU POC grant, which I know Carsten also has a look at. It's I can really recommend going through the DTU Skylab funding mechanisms. They're great support system, great ecosystem. And in that process, we were connected with Kurt and Mikkel, and we got the POC grant, which allowed us to hire some developers and get connected to Guido Makransky and start doing some pilots. Does this actually work? How should it work? So where are we now? We are, historically, we've been in use at 5 universities in Denmark and 8 high schools. And we're also in use at universities in Germany, France, and Malaysia. And we've been, teachers have been using us in 40 courses. We've had about 1,500 students on the platform, and we're starting to see teachers come back and really requesting that they can use our tool again, which we think is a great sign that we're starting to deliver some value that the teachers can actually use. So from our point of view, we are both commercial, meaning we sell licenses to universities, but we also have a research arm, which means that we can both create revenue, but we can also do grant applications for research. And that is just a great combination in the educational technology space, because our customers are people who value empirical science. So that really ticks a lot of boxes. We've been pursuing a bootstrapping strategy, which means that we we haven't been seeking venture capital, which has taken us quite far, and we wanted to get to a point where we know exactly what is the problem that we're solving before we take in money and start dialing the scaling buttons. So that is where we still are today, and we are open to reevaluating the bootstrapping strategy. So I'm gonna leave it at that and say thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Marius. Super interesting talk. Let's see what questions we might have in the room, and we're also going to welcome questions from people joining us online in a minute. We have one right here.
So you mentioned you have licensing agreements with universities. Like, could you describe how are they structured?
Yeah, it's so we're still quite early in the commercial phase, meaning universities don't really know what to request, what to expect. So we often take on a quite unscalable business model, you could say, of looking at it more as a project. So it really depends on what the university needs and how far they are in their journey, and then we'll adopt our needs or our offer to that. But you could imagine selling a university-wide license or selling a single course license. And of course, the price per student, the price per course is going to change depending on that. Both. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks. Very cool project. I really admire people like jumping into edutech. It's something we need to further develop. I was actually waiting for the real USP because it came into my mind that actually like giving more information to teachers, like giving them feedback on the curriculum, taking them serious as a huge user group, because they lack information from our side, and honestly, I would prefer to use ChatGPT, or currently I'm using Notebook-LM to like generate podcasts, to do briefings for the class, etc. And for me, the barrier to entrance might be quite high. But yeah, maybe you have something to comment.
Yeah, we've been thinking a lot about that. Like, how do we compete against these massive technology providers? And like, we have things that they can never do. They can never be LLM agnostic. They most likely wouldn't work a lot with pedagogical researchers to try to document the effects of the decisions they make on their platforms. So those are some of the things that we try to emphasize. The way I think about sort of the loop of getting the students to adopt ChatTutor is that if the teacher starting to see value in using a tool like ChatTutor to give the students tasks, to engage the students' minds, that's going to be a task for the student to log on to ChatTutor and complete an agent. Once the student is there, maybe they would find other features interesting. So from our point of view, it's not making the product addictive, but it's making the value of the product seem apparent to the student. Just to repeat, the Trojan horse would be the teachers. You could say that. Yeah. So we are really building a tool for, in the first case, teachers, and I also experienced that. I talked to a lot of teachers, and we do a lot of educating the teachers on how they can implement these tools in their work. So yeah, it's first and foremost a tool for the teacher, but obviously the most important user in this whole flow is the student, because if they don't learn, then there's no reason for us being here. But it requires that the teacher knows what to do and why they're doing it.
So maybe I can give you a few inputs or comments, and maybe you're already doing this from an educator's perspective. The things I would like to see is learning that can be more personalized. So there are different areas. On one hand, I would like to see where are common mistakes, or where is the material not clear enough, so that there is need for more information. And so that's one thing. I guess that's what you probably can already provide. Then there's more to that. I think the Danish system, unfortunately, goes from flawless to we deduct with every kind of mistake being made, which is kind of, I think, is very unfortunate, because it doesn't take into account the single progress, the learning progress of a single student. I think this would be a much fairer grading if we could really see from when they started to when they end. Obviously, you need to have like a threshold to pass a course, but to see the single progress of every student, which makes it much more personalized and I think rewarding for the student, but also for the teacher. And then the last thing, where I think which would be probably a big fast step, but a really nice step, if some universal learning design principles could be integrated so that there's any kind of new developmental tendency in students, that maybe the output could also be in a way that either it goes towards the preferences, makes it easier to understand, or sees the preferences and actively teaches on, now you're very good in understanding graphical or text or audio-based output. Now we kind of teach you how to also understand these equations and these numbers and these tables where you might not have a preference for, or the other way around. I think there is so much potential in what it all could be used, given that you have the data from each user already.
Yeah. Thank you for those comments. Yeah, really helpful.
And we have a few questions online.
Hi, Marius. Ren Tianju, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, says, I'm wondering which AI model are you using? Does the model behind the ChatTutor change as LLMs improve?
To the latter, yes, they do, because we've built the system so that you can actually decide which large language model you want to use in your course. And of course, depending on which model you use, the output is going to be very different, depending on the training data, depending on how the whole model is comprised. And then there's an added layer on top of that, which are these agents, where you can then start to specify how you want the agent to behave. And there are so many variables, you wouldn't think of it, but there are actually quite a lot of variables. And when you start adopting these agents to the learning environment, just the language you input the prompt in. Yesterday we were trying to do it in German, and it kept replying in English, even though we asked it to reply in German. Then I thought, okay, let's translate it into English, put in the English prompt into the agent, and now it started answering in German.
Regarding the training data, how does ChatTutor work with copyrighted material, and what is the legality around that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of the big hurdles that a platform like ours is facing, and the short answer is that you're not allowed to use any materials that you don't have the rights for. Basically, that's the short answer. Luckily, at universities, you often have developed your own materials, or you have materials that are open access. So there's those opportunities, and then we're waiting a bit for the Copydan Text and Node to come up with some updated versions of the law. Yeah.
And we have one more in the room. Yes. We gotta make it brief.
Yeah. No, it's just a little comment. I also really liked the presentation. Thank you for that. I feel like I really got started into using different LMMs now in my master studies. We have kind of a deep dive in different models and stuff. And what I, across all of them, kind of realized is how you prompt them and how it should be framed. So in some models, like Perplexity or ChatGPT, you can, on the top left, you can create projects where you can have a description of what this project is about. I think this could also be like a very good use case for your idea, because then I guess the teacher or professor has different classes, and then they can prompt it to take a specific role, or even for different kind of students with different backgrounds. So I prompted normally that, well, I have a, I don't know, business background, but now I'm studying here and I don't know much about this. So they kind of take a specific role, which is going to this personalization, which I think is the true key here. Because at the end of the day, it's just the quick learning. But also, I feel like connecting the dots, the critical thinking behind it, because the value of the prompt is helping the output as well.
Definitely, yeah. Thank you for those comments.
So I think we're going to close with one last question. It's going to be from me because now I hold the mic. And I'm curious about being a startup. What are some of the things on your horizon? What could you use right now? Are you looking for collaborators, funding, whatnot? People watching might be curious as well.
So on the sort of the low practical, we'd like to, if you are a student and you have really good ideas, we would like to put together a little group of students. So please send me an email if you'd like to help contribute in any way. Then we can set up something. And the other thing is I opened the sort of this bootstrapping strategy. I opened up for that a little bit. So if you are an investor and you would like to help us grow, maybe even with some knowledge from the industry, that would be interesting. We have quite a runway yet, still, but now would be an interesting time to start talking. So yeah, that could also be interesting. Please reach out.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Let's thank Marius and welcome on board Cortsen.
Thank you very much. Is the sound on? Nope. Nope. Still not? Okay, then I think something is wrong with this one.
Try again?
Yes.
I think it is.
Better?
Is it?
Nope.
It's okay for people online.
Okay, so it's okay for online? I'm Cortsen. Yep. Now it works. Okay. We'll try again. Ah, it works. Way. I'm Cortsen, and I represent the research project and the startup AIMO. So we have a big amount of partners, universities and industry and foundations. I'll tell you a little bit about what's wrong with our current financial systems. Then what is actually the implications of this in the companies, some examples, and then what can AIMO do actually to make this better. The problem is actually quite simple. If we take the definition of indirect cost, then indirect costs are costs that are not directly accountable to a cost object. If you put that in layman's terms, that actually means that we simply cannot share a cost between different products, for example. So to put it in industrial relation, in one of our companies, we have more than 30,000 different parts that we design, we buy them, produce them, and they are going into more than 10 million relations. So that is quite a lot of sharing, and we simply cannot calculate this sharing and predict it. So what can we actually ask if, let's say, we are designing a new product? We can ask how much have a product earned, but we can actually not ask how much has the company earned on the project, because there's a lot of costs that are coming to other products and other processes and other people in the company that we simply cannot see. So we've studied this for 3 years. We did hundreds of interviews, and we tested many different methods to actually model this in these 4 companies. And they have been nice enough to put forward all their data and all their employees. So we've come up with a solution so that if we take a look at their enterprise resource planning, as an example, then here we can actually see what have actually happened or changed during a time period. But we can actually also see what did it cost, what did we buy, how many hours did we pay in wages to different people. So that's what AIMO makes sense of. That allows us to uncover these hidden and indirect costs, but it actually also allows us to give a real-time situational awareness for the companies. But, okay, financial systems, we've been doing this for many, many years. How bad can it be? Let's take a look. In one of our case companies, Therma, 6 years ago, we decided to do a new variant of an antenna. So we had the black one, now we're doing the blue one. It's a bit cheaper, so we're gonna make more money. And if we look in our financial systems, yes, we did make a lot more money. We did some savings, and our return on investment was 52%. But if we then put the AIMO model on top of this, then if we look at all the costs that comes below the iceberg, then we see that we had to buy a lot of stuff. We had to pay a lot of shipping for getting that stuff to our factory. We had to take all the stuff and put it on the shelves. We had to plan a lot of new production orders. We had to make sure that this was actually running. If we couldn't get something, we needed to design something new. We needed to do some quality production engineering, sourcing, and so forth. And then because we took a lot of volume out of the old ones, that one got more expensive. So in total, we actually end up that we did not save any money. We actually spent more money, so we get a return on investment on minus 92%, which is, I would say, quite radical. And it's not the only place or the only product we see this on. Let's take another one of our case companies, a company on Fyn making ventilation units. They have this product line that's been running for 10 years, and it was maybe not designed perfect from the start. But what they agreed on 10 years ago was that we need 10 size classes to make sure that we hit the right cost. And we have a philosophy that we need to have all available options in all the sizes. So that's a lot of product, a lot of design decisions, a lot of materials. Then, what did actually happen? If you look at the orange one, then we see the contribution margin we can see from their systems. And when I bring on the AIMO costs, then we go to the green ones. And then we actually see that only 90% of the modules or products here were actually profitable. So we really, really get triggered because we try to hunt this direct cost. Okay, it's this much cheaper, we can sell it for this much. We made that much money. But what about all the other hidden costs, all the other people who are working on this? We simply cannot. We think it's just like a black box in the company and say, okay, that's free, but it's not. So how can AIMO then actually create value in our companies? Because one thing is that I can do this. Another thing is how do we put it into the hands of the people in the companies making the decisions? So we've tried to build some prototypes tools that we are testing now in these companies. We can see that for better financial measurements, we can automatically generate up-to-date full cost profit and loss statements from the whole product portfolio down to your screws and bolts, everything in between. And that certainly gives us the ability to measure and manage all of this sharing. As I, brushed on earlier in the presentation, we could not put money on what is happening when we share something. Suddenly we can do it. And one of the, founders of modern management theory, Peter Drucker, pretty neatly put it, what gets measured gets managed. And we see that in the companies. So if we can't measure it, it won't get managed. And we see that. Then we also say that we can dribble this down to people making decisions every day. So what if we could give them full cost and life cycle estimates on replacing, introducing, removing, or some sort of something in between. yes, we can do this in seconds. And before doing this in let's say a product with 15,000 components, that was, you simply couldn't do it. It was not profitable to do it. It would take months or years to do it. Now we can do it in seconds. Then we also have this situational awareness. So one thing is that if we look at our system, then what something costs, that is what it costs, but it's not what it's gonna cost. Producing something is highly dependent on what else are we going to produce, what do we have in the pipeline, what are our stock levels and so forth. So this can actually help us, there's a lot of money directly lying on the table that we can actually get, because now we can get our sales to pick the most profitable situation given the company's actual situation and not last year's average prices. And we can also make sure that these savings are then being, dribbled down to the procurement and production, so that we actually then also make sure that we capture them and get better costs. So there was a little bit of insights into AIMO and what we can do. The next steps here for us is to establish further collaboration with companies than the ones we have now. Maybe get some funding for our first commercial offerings, and then build and scale this to companies all over the world. So, yeah, if any of this seems interesting to you, then feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much for an interesting talk, Carsten. Let's see what questions we have in the room and online, if there are any. I'm curious about a similar thing to what I asked Marius about. You're also a startup, so you're on a journey. What would help you right now? What are you looking for that could propel you forward?
Right now, we're also going to build a lot of the infrastructure and refine our methods, machine learning methods, and so forth into the model. So, if anyone is interested, that could be student projects or something like that, then we could definitely use some help and scope some nice projects for that. Besides that, we are of course very interested in company cooperation. So if you want to see if you're actually doing something wrong in your company, then we will be happy to help, and we can do that. And we see that we actually do a lot of things wrong, because at least if we trust the numbers.
Yeah, I guess a lot of companies are shocked to hear how many hidden costs that AIMO uncovers.
Yes, I think at least some of these cases, when we present them out in the companies, they are quite an eye-opener. So that has been very interesting, doing that.
So my question would be, how do you actually attribute these costs to the products? Like, you have access to ERP, like, do you need any additional information, or is it all stored there?
We sort of, depending on the the quality of the data, we combine the data with a lot of interviews. So moving more into activity-based costing, that we talk to people, what activities do they do, how much time do they take, and then we sort of correlate that with the data, so that we also get a qualitative verification of our results.
It sounds like there is a lot of human activity needed to make these estimations.
No, not really. It's more in terms of the verification and more that we make sure that we also trust the results we get. But we don't really need human intervention to make the estimates. It's more actually to verify them.
I have a question, maybe a little related to the other one. So what do I need to provide as a company? What data do you need to have access to in order to apply this model? And also, I'm a little bit curious on the AI technology, not the technology, but how you apply it.
Yes. If we first take the data, then a good first step is to get access to your ERP system. So we need to know how many employees in what functions. Then we need production orders, purchase orders, And then we would also very much like to have sales prices and so forth. But if we have that and then combined with the bill of materials for the products, then we can start building up. We are sort of modeling the company as a big network, as a big graph. Then when we have that, then we can start building the graphs and putting in the data, and then the graph can help us allocate the cost and predict and so forth. That was.
Yeah.
So what's your business model? Are you like consultants? You'll go out, you'll do a project, you'll do like a one-off, or you'll set up something that they can manage themselves, or can it become a plug-and-play version where you just connect your ERP credentials here and then we'll save you a bunch of millions?
Yes, I think the first off now it would be a consultancy basis, but we are building these offerings so that we can actually have these programs running in the company. So the idea is that we have a program where people can log into. So if I'm sales, then I can actually get the situational cost of the product, or I can get the full life cycle and full cost, calculations on the decision I have to make. We want to put that out into the hands of the people in the company. And I think one of the next steps is also approaching some of the ERP suppliers actually then to see if we can automate this. So if we can make a deal with SAP, then we could actually do more or less a plug and play solution. So that is definitely the next steps for us.
Super Bullseye writes, what is the hidden cost of more registrations in companies, CRMs or ERPs? Also, do you think, does it contribute to a good work environment for the employees if they were to incorporate this extra layer of monitoring and assessment? Thank you.
I did not actually get the first part.
What is the hidden cost of more registrations in company CRM systems?
There is, we take the registration there is now, so there is no more registration. And in terms of work environment, this is not a tool to monitor people. This is a tool so that when we make a decision, we can make a better one. And I think one thing that I hear in the companies is that we keep making good business plans, selling products, but somehow our operational cost simply just keeps on eating this. And this is I would say the main reason for that. So hopefully it can actually lead to a better work environment. Now we can actually understand why our operational costs keeps increasing, even though we do the right stuff, we think.
So you mentioned you are estimating hidden costs, like what costs are included and what is not included yet in the models. I'm sure there are some costs you just can't estimate right now.
Yes, of course. Something that if you sort of take the indirect costs, then you can divide it into sort of fixed indirect costs. So that could be your buildings and so forth. We don't allocate that because if you change something in your product, then you still need the building. So there's something, but there's the variable indirect cost. So that could be production planners, that could be purchasers. They are directly affected by your product choices and the volume you sell to your customers. That we can include as well as we can do with how we do it in production now. And then there's all, how to say, we haven't done it, but I think we could do electricity and we could do all sort of things that are, so if we get a higher volume batch, then we save a little electricity. Yeah.
Do we have more questions here at Skylab? Do we have more questions online? I think we're all satisfied and happy.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Carsten.
Thank you.
May I? So big thank you to both of our speakers. If you want to connect them with LinkedIn, I've tried to make it easy for you here. Just a simple QR scan. Also, if you're hungry for more, whoops, I'm a little too fast there. Once the phones come out, if you're hungry for more, you can join us 2 weeks from today in Øskenhallen, where we're hosting also two DTU startups. Oline and Natasha are going to be sharing about their startups. Oline is doing an AI startup for the building industry, and that might be the gateway to digitalize that technology or that industry. And Natasha is one of the co-founder of Skjold, that won DTU Startup of the Year this year. So super exciting to feature them. Please join us if you can. One of the QR codes is to get you free access to the Digital Tech Summit, and the other one allows you to sign up online for Applied AI Lunch Talks if you cannot be there physically. But that's pretty much all there is for us today. Thank you so much for joining. If you're here physically, you can come talk to the speakers, and I hope to see you next time.